In the long term, do you feel there's a place for more high-rise condominiums on the lake?
Yeah, and I'm actually one that doesn't mind and have not made disparaging remarks about Balcomb's Cove, because I think from afar, if you look at it from your area of the town,
yeah.
it's like, man, is this Muskegon? You sort of pinch me, you know, we've got a 10-story high-rise condominium there. But obviously with the way the condominium market is, the way the real estate market is in the current economy, that's not going to be happening in the next 3 to 5 years. But I think in the future, that is where people are going to want to live. And John Boldema, the late, and I think great John Boldema, because he was a very good man for Muskegon, had always said, waterfront is something that they don't make any more of. It's a finite resource, waterfront property. And what we've got is plenty of it in Muskegon, with plenty of opportunities to redevelop it in the future.
Great. Okay, exactly what I was looking for. Now, I want to segue into a new topic here. The old bugaboo, governmental cooperation. Functional consolidation is another term. It seems like it rears up about every so often, 5 years, 10 years, goes only so far, and then sort of stalls. What are your thoughts, and where do we need to go? Do we need to embrace a model like Indianapolis, for example?
Dave Kolb and I, back in the 1984 era, when he was at City Hall and I was covering Muskegon County, I think had a landmark series of stories on governmental cooperation, governmental consolidation, and political consolidation. And we basically led to two ballot proposals that were on. Basically, the voters in a straw poll in Muskegon County-wide said that they liked the idea of functional cooperation and consolidation, but did not like pure political consolidation, where we would make one big city out of the metro area of Muskegon. And we learned, I think, through that series and in reporting since then, that first off, the people don't want that big mega city right now. Number two, it is impossible to do with the Constitution of the state of Michigan and the way that the laws are derived in the relationships between townships and cities as it would come to trying to put something like that together. That being said, we over the last 20 years, 25 years have worked extensively on functional consolidation, functional cooperation. Two historical examples in our town. 9/11 emergency police dispatch, in terms of where all the communities have come together with that service. And the big one is our wastewater site, in which the county came together as the force to put together a group of communities to stop dumping our raw sewage or our poorly treated sewage into Muskegon Lake. We revived the lake, we've saved the lake, we've brought together a high-tech, world-class, land-based system where we grow corn, use it as a filter, and put the water, clean water, back into the Muskegon River. So I think we've had examples of success. We are just right now working around the edges, and I think the coming budgetary crisis with the local government in the state of Michigan will force us to even go further.
So most folks are thinking, if not this year's budget, then next year's is going to be the really.
If it's not 10, it's going to be 11 in terms of where the real difficulties arise, and where local community leaders and elected political leaders are going to have to come to very tough decisions that you may not really appreciate as a taxpayer or as a voter, but it's the only solution.
So that being said, you've kind of given us some pretty good hints, but where do you see yourself writing about in the next year,
well,
the next few years? What are going to be
stories
the
that I think are going to occupy my time? And I would say the future use of the Sappy property. It may open up this fall, reopen as a paper mill or some sort of a wood products company, but in the final analysis, in the long term, everyone knows that the equipment there is just becoming too old. Investments are being made overseas, outside of the United States, for paper products such as Sappy's, and eventually we're going to have an abandoned plant. And what we do as a community with a mile-long waterfront and 100+ acres on that water is going to be critical to our future. in the city and as a community in Muskegon County. And I think I will be writing about that for the rest of my career. So it's going to be a long-term process to get through that. We got the 2010 elections coming up. We've got Congressman Hoekstra wanting to be our governor. It's going to be a great story from a West Michigan perspective as they get into the GOP primary next year. We got wind energy development, and I think Muskegon can be a critical player in terms of what happens with wind energy, not only land-based, but especially as it relates to energy coming from turbines that would be placed on the Great Lakes and especially Lake Michigan. You've got the Future of Summer Celebration coming up here in the coming weeks and months in terms of figuring out where that operation, where that festival, basically the foundation of our festival calendar is going to go in the future. You've got the opening of, Baker's Culinary Arts Facility, sorry Bill, downtown. You need to create a fine addition downtown. You need to create a Muskegon Community College footprint downtown, and I would love to write about that. But Baker's opening of that in terms of our continuation of development of the downtown city center area. And the Shoreline Inn has a new owner, a new direction. There's some exciting things that are going to come out of that property in the ownership of John Rooks out of Grand Rapids. He'll become a major player in this community in the coming years, not only with that, but with the redevelopment of the Comerica Bank building. There's some of the things, the Chronicle will go out and probably put together a series of stories on the emerging women's leadership in Muskegon County. If you take a look at the public, nonprofit, and private areas.
Sure, we have your own editor.
We have an editor. Cindy Fairfield is my boss, and I'm proud of that. And so we will take a look at an emerging class of young female leaders that are taking care of institutions and are making much of the major decisions, and that is obviously a difference from when you and I first broke into the Chronicle, when it was truly a man's world in terms of leadership, and that has changed, and I think that's a dynamic that we need to explore and let folks sort of get their heads around in terms of what it means for our future.
Pretty exciting times. Now, I'm going to ask you to put on your prognosticator hat. If you had to pick 3 or 4 fill-in businesses, entities to help flesh out the downtown in a big way, what would those look like?
Downtown?
Right downtown. What do we need the most?
Well, one thing I think I'm excited about is one that's on the boards, and that's Gary Post's idea in the Daniels building for a walking, strolling marketplace of 40 or 50 quality, small, entrepreneurial shops that would be an exciting time to just spend an hour or two. The other would be, I think, your institution needs to be downtown. There needs to be a footprint for the community college. That would be part of it. I'm not sure what aspect. I know the art department had talked about discussing at some point in time something with the art museum. I think it would be a perfect marriage and bring more vibrancy in terms of your students interacting with the downtown businesses. And we need offices. I think we need white collar, what they would call information technology or knowledge-based workers sort of populating the downtown and making all the small shops such as the Cheese Lady and Earthly Needs and those kinds of shops viable and good for the owners and for the customers.
Okay. Well, thank you for your thoughts. Been talking with Dave Alexander, the governmental business editor for the Muskegon Chronicle, who now covers the city of Muskegon, the City Hall beat, the all-important beat.
Yes, we are. And enjoying every minute of it.
Yeah, I can tell you're having a great time yet after 28 years, and that's great. And I'm Bill Oxman. I'm the co-chair of the City of Muskegon Public Relations Committee, and you've been watching an initiative of that committee called Simply Muskegon. Thank you for tuning in.